friends, I'm Rich Larson and I'm the IRC Tire Guy. Today we'll be talking about the top 3 changes I make to my machine to prepare it for an extreme enduro. As you may know, I'll be riding the Sherco Factory 300 for the 2020 Extreme Enduro Series. I've been riding the Austrian brands KTM and Husqvarna for the past 14 years. This is my first time on the French brand. In a later episode, I'll get into the differences that I see with the Sherco. But for now, I wanted to show you guys the first set of changes that I make to prepare it for an extreme enduro. I basically put about 5 days of testing on the bike. I only made small tweaks and changes, and then I headed straight to Texas for the 6-hour Red Bull Override event. For extreme enduro, I've always been an advocate of riding a nearly stock machine. The changes I've made are very minuscule. I'm a component of technique over trick parts. That being said, these are the changes I made. Right off the bat, I changed the tires. Now, I know I work for IRC, but there is a larger reason why I changed the tires immediately when I get the bike out of the box. I've most likely put more hours on the iX09W Dakota than anyone in the United States. That's thousands of hours of riding, testing, and racing. There's a reason I put these tires on immediately. I've done my homework. I'm comfortable on them and I know how they perform. I installed the iX09W Dakota because that way I can understand how the new bike is performing, the way the power feels, and how the bike is handling in certain situations. I have 100% confidence in the tire, and it makes all the changes I need to make that much easier. Next, I focus on protection. I immediately add an SXS slide plate. John Seahorn is a huge proponent of extreme enduro and endurocross, and he's also an awesome rider. He's the creator of this amazing extreme enduro tool. As you can see, this skid plate runs from the front of the machine all the way to the back of the linkage. That way you get that extra glide over an obstacle you may get hung up on. Hit up SRT Off-Road, they're available there. Although they aren't installed, front and rear rotor guards are recommended, as well as heavy-duty radiator guards. Our boys at Hard Enduro Outfitters have all these parts available for Shercos right now. Now let's move on to the final change, suspension. I get asked all the time, how do I set my suspension up for extreme enduro? So this is exactly what I did right before the Red Bull Override. Out of the box, I make sure the suspension is set to the standard setting in your book. After making the small changes like tires, protection, and jetting, I go out and ride and start to mess with the clickers. Depending on how the bike feels, I adjust accordingly. For extreme enduro, I like my bike to be a little bit more on the soft side. As a good rule of thumb, I usually adjust my suspension clickers closer to the comfort setting you would see in any modern owner's manual. I try to make the suspension as soft as possible without bottoming. You want the bike riding in the middle of the stroke and using all of its suspension, especially in technical situations. After testing, I've added 1 millimeter or 2 of sag and I've softened the compression. Again, if I was riding higher speed stuff, I would go to the stiffer side, but for extreme enduro, I'm rarely getting out of second gear. Remember, all these settings are from my personal experience in extreme enduro, but I think it's a good place to start before you go out and tackle the gnarly trails. I hope all this helps, and until next time, keep shredding.